Hello everyone, Seedlink here, back with the final part of the Blast Austin 2025 Major Pickems. We're down to the playoffs. We'll have a quick recap of Stage 3 here. The only stage which I was successfully able to get 5 or more correct. I ended up getting 6, the same amount I got at Shanghai. However, the way I got them was a bit different. At Shanghai, I got both 0-3s correct. I got Wildcard and Big correct. This time, for the first time ever, I got 1-3-0 and 1-0-3 correct. I had Vitality 3-0. Legacy ended up destroying them. And I will say I did mention that I did kind of half expect that to happen if Vitality came in slow and Legacy came in with all that momentum and they were underestimated. And then Lin Vision Liquid, turns out one of those teams did go 0-3, but I picked the wrong team. And I did mention how Liquid was a team known for choking and they could very well lose that. Although I will say they nearly got out of it facing Mouse. And I also want to point out again, like, I could have easily gotten more here if it wasn't for the fact that Mouse faced Liquid in the 0-2, and then they faced Aurora in the 0, or in the 1-2. So I had 2 matches, both of which had Mouse in them, where my teams faced each other in the elimination rounds. And that's how, in fact, the only teams that I had qualifying that didn't make it normally are teams that got eliminated by another one of my teams going through. So I was able to get Navi correct, and I got FaZe Clan correct. I was tempted to swap VP for one of these teams. I definitely wouldn't have swapped it with Liquid, so I'm glad I ultimately didn't. And I even mentioned how I thought they were going to be near the top of the bracket, and I did kind of half expect them to beat Mouse, which is why I didn't put them going 3-0. And I'm very glad I made that decision. Most people put Mouse 3-0. I decided not to, and I reaped the benefits from it. And despite my prediction of VP going, starting on the top side of the bracket, which is why it was risky me not putting them through, a small part of me hoped that they would go high and then drop down quickly, and surprisingly, that's exactly what happened. They faced Furia, got abolished. Vitality also got abolished, but not quite as badly as against Furia, and then had a pretty close game against Pain. I actually expected VP to win this, and I really did want VP to win this because it would have made the bracket a lot easier to predict. Pretty much, like, almost all the matches would have been very easy to predict, in my opinion. In fact, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was Furia. Yeah, Furia Mouse. Don't worry about this. This was just kind of a meme pick'ems here. I think it was if VP made it instead of Pain, it would have been Furia Mouse. Furia Mouse, FaZe Spirit. I'm pretty sure Vitality Navi was still the same, so and there was Spirit Mongols. So I'm pretty sure what the playoffs would have reached, and all of those would have been pretty easy, and the bracket itself would have been quite a bit easier. But yeah, I was pretty happy with this, given how it ended up going. Going into the 2-2 with FaZe and Mongols facing each other, that guaranteed my third, and then Navi beating G2 gave me my fourth. And one way or another, I would have been guaranteed a fourth, because Navi, if they did lose, they would have faced one of my teams here. But them winning here was better, because that gave me 2 chances, and I only needed 1. Thankfully, both went my way. But Legacy still nearly beat Mouse, which I'm going to talk about again. But without further ado, let's talk about the playoffs here. These matchups are quite a bit more difficult to predict than they could have been if VP was here. But looking at it, they're still kind of easy to predict to some extent. We're going to start with the obvious one that pretty much everyone's doing. Vitality beating Navi. Yes, Navi is a decent team, but you have to look at Navi's peak. Navi kind of peaked at Copenhagen, and the thing is, even if Navi was at their peak, even if they were playing as good as they were in Copenhagen, they still don't beat Vitality, because Vitality has hit a new peak. They've raised their ceiling. So Vitality at their top level, which they kind of are right now. They lost to Legacy, but they dusted it off, they recovered from it, and they're still the favorites to win the tournament. So even both of these teams playing at a top level, Vitality still wins. And honestly, I don't see Navi playing at a top level. So I think that in a best of 3, Vitality should comfortably beat Navi, especially given their record against each other. Whether it's best of 3s or best of 5s, Vitality pretty much always beat them. Then, let's move on to the second one that I think is the most easiest, and that's FaZe Clan versus Mongols. FaZe Clan is the #1 team in the world when it comes to having a playoff buff. Like, this is the team that historically goes like 2-2 in the group stages, barely scrapes their way in, and then just dominates. Like, this is a team that managed to get to the finals twice and lose twice. First to Navi, then to Spirit. So, and not only that, but Mongols have had some struggles. Like, when you look at this, like, it was a very close match, but they lost to Furia, and Furia has played really well. They beat Liquid quite comfortably. They beat Linvision quite comfortably, but that you also have to consider they're both from the same region, so they play each other more than you might think. They lost to FaZe Clan. First map, pretty close. It was Ancient, which was, I would say, one of, if not their best map. But then they got obliterated on Anubis, which really shouldn't have happened, especially since FaZe, for whatever reason, in a best of one, decided to give Aurora their best map. I still don't understand that. But even against G2, like, yes, it was a 2-0. I will say, this one wasn't as bad as Mao's game, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Because they dominated G2 on their map pick, and then, or on Mongol's map pick, and then on G2's map pick of Dust 2, it went so long. Like, this is literally longer than 2 CS2 matches. Like, 2 CS2 matches would be 24-24. This was 28-25. Like, if this was the third map, I would be saying Mongols have no chance to win a match because they're coming in with no momentum. But the fact that this was your opponent's map pick, and you made them work to try to bear, like, even if G2 won it, they wouldn't have come in with any momentum because they just fought a ridiculous overtime just to win their map pick, and they didn't even manage to do that. So even though I do think Mongols have some, like, I do think Mongols are coming in with some momentum to some extent because they had that very draining overtime that they won on their opponent's map pick. Because FaZe Clan is a team that always gets a sort of playoff buff, especially in front of a crowd, they're going to do a lot better. And I also want to point out something. FaZe Clan is a team that I would not sleep on winning the whole thing if they do in fact get that crowd buff. If you think about it like this, if the crowd buff raises everyone to like their 90 or 95% skill gap, look at the names on FaZe Clan. You have Kerrigan, arguably the best in-game leader ever. Elige, one of the best North American players ever. Simple, someone who has historically been the best player of all time. Up until recently when he kind of retired for a short bit, and then you had the likes of Zaiwu, Monacy, and Donk coming around. So this is a team that honestly, if they have the best playoff buff they've ever gotten, with Simple in the team, they could win the whole thing. They could even beat Vitality. They could beat Spirit. They could beat Mouse. They could beat literally anyone here. If Simple's playing like where he was 5-10 years ago, with the FaZe Clan playoff buff, then they could genuinely win the whole thing. So, as much as I love Mongols, and I do think they have a chance, FaZe Clan, for Mongols to win, FaZe Clan would have to basically not have that playoff buff that they always have. So then next up, we're going to go with Furia Pain. Both of these teams are from Brazil, both of them are solid, but I think when you look at their games with how close they were, and also when you just look at the games themselves and how good their aim was, I think you just kind of have to put Furia through. When I looked at their game against VP, it wasn't just the scoreline, man. It wasn't just like VP saving too much. It was Furia just always out-aiming them. And VP was a team that, as I said, was always playing really good or really bad. Like, they were either, like, beating FaZe Clan and like, they could beat FaZe Clan Vitality and then lose to, like, Legacy the next game. So VP was a complete wildcard, and for Furia to obliterate that wildcard, including on their own map pick of Mirage, that was very impressive. So I think coming into this, Furia, they went 3-0. They have, like, honestly, when you look at some of Furia's games, I've never seen them play this good, or at least play people like Quesorado who have been on the squad for a long time. Like, honestly, their aim was better than Mao's this tournament, and that's saying something. Even better than Mongols, I would say. Mongols, Na'Vi, Mao's, and definitely Pain as well. So Furia is a team that, honestly, I would not sleep on beating FaZe Clan. Because if they don't come in with a crowd buff, I mean, I wouldn't say this is likely to happen, but I do think Furia can make it to the finals. So I think Pain, against VP, they had a very close game. They still managed to win it, and I do think they are a solid Brazilian brigade. But I think given where Furia is this tournament, I just don't see Pain beating them. I think Furia is coming in with a lot more momentum and a lot more skill than Pain. So now the bottom one. Oh, why is it always this matchup? So these teams, Spirit and Mouse, have kind of a rivalry. They're always battling for like the second or third position worldwide, or sometimes first position. Nowadays, it's basically fighting for who's the second in the world next to Vitality. And the thing about these two teams is that, in my opinion, Spirit is typically better than Mouse overall. Like their players, their calling, basically everything from Spirit is slightly better than Mouse. Yet for whatever reason, Mao's always beat Spirit. There's one time, however, that Spirit did beat Mao's, and that was the semifinals of the last major. Not only that, when you look at these games, Mao's games, they lost a close game to VP, which I said was a wildcard team. They lost to FaZe Clan. Yes, they beat Liquid, but Liquid's a team known for choking, and no one on Liquid was doing good except Ultimate. Ultimate had like as many kills as the rest of his team on Mirage when it went to multiple overtimes. Mao's was a team that many people had 3-0, and they this close to going 0-3. They went up against Aurora. Yes, Aurora's a strong team, but they're not quite Mao's level, as I mentioned in my last video. And then they go up against Legacy, the underdog team. They get obliterated round 1, or map 1. And yes, they did win it, but look at these scores, man. 13-11, 13-10, and I watched that nuke game. I forget who it was, but the person who went down vent secret, they had the perfect flank, but they didn't reload their gun. If they reloaded their gun, there's not a guaranteed chance of a clutch because their teammates did die because they were low health, but there would have been a chance of clutch. Like, Legacy very well could be sitting here instead of Mouse. And if you're losing to Legacy, I mean, sure, Legacy did beat VP, but the fact that Legacy is making it this close, like, Legacy's destroying you on Ancient, and then making you work really hard on your map pick and the Decider, like, Mouse is, in my opinion, the team coming into this event with the least amount of momentum. So, because of that, I'm going to have to put Spirit through. Even though Spirit pretty much always lose to Mouse, the one time Spirit did win was last major, and on top of that, Spirit has just been looking a lot better than Mouse this tournament, so I do think that Spirit is going to beat them at this major again. So, when it comes to Vitality, Spirit, to be honest, it doesn't matter even if Mouse win, because I think it's pretty clear that Vitality is going to be winning. Like, Vitality has not lost to these two teams, I think, ever this year. Like, I think at the Bounty Tournament, I'm not sure if they even faced at the Bounty Tournament, the one that Team Spirit won every single map, except for a massive comeback from Eternal Fire on Anubis, which is their best map. That's the one time that Spirit lost in that Bounty Tournament. And then they went into Katowice, the favorites, and they got 3-0'd by Vitality. And Mouse have been 3-0 by Vitality multiple times this year. So if they're getting 3-0'd in a best of 5, what do you think is going to happen in a best of 3? So I think regardless of whether Mouse or Spirit go through, I think Vitality is a very safe pick to go into the finals here. Because, I mean, you might say that, yeah, this side of the bracket's very, very stacked, but you have to remember Vitality just beats all of these teams. Like, I would be more scared, if I'm Vitality, I'm more scared of teams like FaZe Clan, teams like Pain and Furia that typically you don't see in the playoffs. As the top team, you're very used to facing other top teams. Whereas teams like Pain, you might not face as much. Teams like Furia, you might not face as much. Teams like FaZe Clan, in the playoffs of a major, who have that big crowd buff, you might not face that much. You know, in the group stage, FaZe is a lot easier to beat. So, even though this side of the bracket might seem very stacked, I actually think Vitality is going to struggle worse against the teams in the top bracket than the bottom bracket. So then moving up top, I personally would want FaZe or Furia to win, but honestly, I'm okay with either team winning, and I do think because of the playoff crowd buff, FaZe Clan will win. I do think Furia has looked very, very strong, though, and I do think that Furia could very well win that. And personally, I would actually kind of be rooting on Furia. weirdly enough. And so even though I think pretty much everyone's putting FaZe Clan here, I would not be surprised to see this at all. But at the same time, because of the fact that I'm probably a little more confident in FaZe Clan beating Mongols than Fury beating Pain, especially since FaZe Clan did beat Mongols already in the group stage, this is the more safe pick, in my opinion. So as much as I do want... I mean, I would absolutely love it if Fury won the whole thing. Like, more so than getting my Pickems. So I'm not going to play it like that. I'm going to play what's the most likely to happen. FaZe Clan's more likely to beat Mongols than Fury beating Pain, in my opinion. And FaZe Clan have that crowd buff. So my finals is going to be FaZe Clan Vitality. Now, most people probably going to be picking this just guaranteed. Before I make my pick'em, I do want to talk about this match a little bit. Vitality is the #1 team right now, as I've mentioned, and they've only lost to Legacy. Against a lot of the top teams, they're doing really good, and FaZe is the best team out of these top teams, except for maybe Mongols. But as I've mentioned, Mongols has kind of struggled this tournament. The other factor you have to consider is not only do FaZe Clan have a crowd buff, FaZe Clan, even when they have a bad year, they always beat Vitality in the majors. Like, in Shanghai, the second half of last year, FaZe Clan was struggling, and Vitality was getting so much better, to the point where many people had them winning Shanghai. And yet, round 1, I'm pretty sure it was round 1 against FaZe Clan, FaZe Clan ended up losing, or actually ended up winning to Vitality, when pretty much everyone had Vitality winning that, because Vitality has faced FaZe Clan multiple times near the end of 2024, and Vitality always won. So if Vitality is always beating FaZe Clan, but FaZe Clan beats them in the first round of the playoffs, we could very well see the same thing happen in the finals, because I don't know what it is, but it's similar to what we saw last tournament with Spirit and Mouse. Mouse always beat Spirit, but Spirit managed to beat them at the major. So the question is, will that curse change? Will FaZe Clan, continuously beat Vitality no matter where it is? Because we've seen them beat them in the semifinals of Copenhagen, the quarterfinals of Shanghai. If this happens, we could see them beat them in the finals. So this, as much as most people are going to be putting Vitality because it's an easy pick, you really shouldn't be sleeping on FaZe Clan with that crowd buff and these two teams' history with each other. With all that being said, I'm actually not going to make this pick'em purely, or at least mostly based off of which team I think is going to win. I'm going to make this pick'em purely off of basically what team I think is more likely to make it to the finals. As I mentioned, the last 2 tournaments, Vitality has always lost to FaZe Clan. Which means that, yes, there's a good chance FaZe Clan might face them here, but there's also a much higher chance that FaZe Clan lose to Mongols or lose to Furia than Vitality losing to Na'Vi or Vitality losing to Spirit. So because of the fact that even though this side of the bracket might be more stacked, I think Vitality has a higher win chance on this side of the bracket because they're used to facing these teams and they're used to beating these teams. Whereas FaZe Clan, with the tournament they're having, Furious had a good tournament. I wouldn't put this upset out of there. Like, I don't put, like, this completely out of the question, to be honest with you. I mean, this would be surprising. If Pain and Mongols happen, I'm pretty sure Mongols probably win that. But, again, this side of the bracket's more crazy, in my opinion. Whereas Vitality's side of the bracket, yes, it's stacked, but it's a bit more predictable. So I think the likelihood of these teams making it to the final, Vitality is much more likely to get there than FaZe Clan. And because of that factor, I want to pick the team that I think has a higher chance of making it to the finals, rather than a team that I think is going to win. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Vitality. Vitality, on paper, is the better team. The question is, how big is that playoff crowd buff going to be for FaZe Clan? If we see Elige and Simple play as good as they were when they were both on Liquid, maybe even better than that, and we see Kerrigan calling perfect call after perfect call, we could very, very well see FaZe Clan win this whole thing. But because I think Vitality has a great route to the finals, even though they're running into tough competition, they're tough competition they've regularly faced. So I think for the most part, this is pretty easy for me in my opinion. This is going to be my bracket. I've explained it kind of over and over again too many times now, so I'll explain it. I'll just say it one by one now. Furia Pain, Furia wins. FaZe Clan Mongols, FaZe win. Navi Vitality, Vitality win. Team Spirit Mouse, Spirit win. Semifinals, Furia FaZe, that's a close one. Don't sleep on Furia, but I am putting FaZe Clan winning that. Vitality Spirit, Vitality comfortably win that just because they've faced Spirit regularly and they just keep beating them. And then FaZe Clan Vitality, even though I do think FaZe Clan might arguably even be favored to win that given their history at majors, Vitality is the better team on paper and they're more likely to make the finals. So those are going to be my pick'ems here. Vitality winning the whole thing in a finals against FaZe Clan. And I will say this, if Vitality do lose, I don't care about my pick'ems, and I want Furia to win at that point. So, hope you all enjoyed the video. That will be the end of my pick'em videos for this major. I plan on uploading a couple, now that I'm done these videos, I'm planning on uploading a couple more Total War Shogun, or not Shogun, Total War 3 Kingdom videos. And I was gonna start recording some Marble League videos, hopefully soon, but I've got a couple of things I need to take care of work-wise and medical-wise first, so there's no guarantee. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.